torturing them, just grotesquely hideous tortures are being imposed. Most of the world's population lives in shit. Most people die hard, not soft. They die hard, long and hard. So, what glory is this all now worth it for? What are human beings? What are the little happy pappy human beings doing? You're saying so because people rode a roller coaster at Disneyland that it's all okay. All the suffering's worth it because a human being, wet his pants or had an orgasm, or somebody, tweaked their anus.
But see, that's the thing. I just don't see it that way. I don't see as like if I'm having pleasure, if I'm enjoying my life, that doesn't have anything to do with the suffering in the world. Now, I know you. Then the one example.
You're not a philosopher, then. It's not philosophy. Philosophy isn't about your personal experience, fella. So if you can't understand the concept, here you did understand a minute ago. Somehow you knew that when there was no people on Earth and Tyrannosaurus ruled the world, you could say the words, "It's not a good experiment." Now that wasn't a subjective statement, was it?
Right, but then you introduce people who aren't in that state.
Well, again, but you're not telling me about what you feel for these other people. You're just telling me what you feel about your life. So all of a sudden you're changing the position. I'm saying no, stay an objective observer. Stay somebody isolated and insulated from the experiment. Stay outside of the maze.
Yeah, objectively.
Of the maze game.
And
you're not doing that. A minute ago you were able to do it, and now you're not doing it.
Objectively, I believe
Hey, Juggernaut, let me just ask you this question. In 110 years from now, what do you think that you're going to be thinking?
Nothing. How is that relevant?
Exactly. You'll be dead.
What does that have to do with anything? I'm looking at it from this.
That has to do with everything. That has to do with everything.
The whole thing
no, it doesn't.
Up to. It's a big fat waste of time. Yeah, okay, you get intelligent, then you get stupid. Then you get intelligent, you get stupid. Get intelligent, get stupid. Get intelligent, get stupid. Get intelligent, get stupid. And just play the get intelligent, get stupid game over and over and over again.
But you can say that for everything, literally anything. Even if you're a god, you can make that same exact argument.
That's the fucking problem, asshole. That's exactly right. The whole fucking universe is shit. It's a fucking dumb bunch of goddamn matter. It has no fucking brain. There was no inventor. There was no creator. So yeah, you can say it about everything. Everything is goddamn fucking stupid.
And you don't see how prove that. Prove that.
I think I've given the logical proof. Nothing intelligent would do something stupid. Nothing intelligent would risk sentient suffering. Especially not for something it could guarantee as a profit. Nothing intelligent would. I mean, I'm not going to go through all the logic of the system, but no one would create a game that was dependent on the creation of spilt milk, and then the game is cleaning up the milk you spilt. It's a stupid game.
No, let's just say that
cleaning up the mess you make. Oh, let's go out and kill something and then save its life, right? Do the Frankenstein thing.
No.
Kill it,
hypothetically,
and then we'll take it to the lab and make it alive again and say we accomplished something. We didn't accomplish a goddamn fucking thing. Okay, that's all we're doing here. We're just jerking off. We're fucking making a mess, cleaning up part of it, patting ourselves on the back for cleaning up part of the mess we made, calling ourselves heroes and giving each other trophies because we cleaned up half the mess we made. I mean, it's ludicrous.
See, here's the thing. You just used the word accomplishment. Now, accomplishment is something subjective. Like, what is your accomplishment?
I'm sorry, it's not objective. Accomplishment is like efficiency, okay? It's like productivity. A car accomplishes work for the gasoline you put into it. This equation is not that much more complicated. The gasoline we put into the car is suffering. The work or accomplishment is... Oh yeah, orgasm. But wait a minute, that gets a little tricky. Pleasure. Well, that gets a little tricky because that stuff's made out of creating deprivation. Okay, so that's more gasoline. So it's the illusion of addiction is the only thing that you're calling accomplishment or work being accomplished. And my argument is there's no way you can make a rational equation saying it's worth the gasoline you put into this fucking automobile. No fucking way. And again, you still you still haven't answered the fucking question, which is how bad does it have to get before Joe subjectivity says that's bad enough?
There is none. There is no line like that, because I don't see it the way you see it. I'm looking at it from a subjective point of view. You're looking at it from a... You're muted. I think you're muted. Can't hear you.
Oh, mic on. Look, well, there's no point in arguing it then, right? If you're not willing to play by the rules of the game, which is to hear the established premises, suffering matters, and we can debate exactly how valuable pleasure is. I'm arguing that pleasure doesn't have any real value. You can argue that it has some value, and the argument is whether it has enough value, enough productive work to justify the cost of the gasoline we put into it. And you're saying that it doesn't matter how much gasoline we put in here, you still think the car is doing productive work, and that's just a ludicrous statement. If you're not going to play by any rational definition of value here, and say that you can waste or squander as much suffering, and it doesn't matter, it's still worth doing, that's just nonsense. There's no laboratory experiment I could ever build where that would be the rule, where it doesn't matter how many rats I torture, and it doesn't matter that I accomplish absolutely nothing. The experiment proves nothing, it accomplishes nothing, all it does is torture rats. There's no fucking way I could justify that.
Alright, can we hone this down a little bit, because I see two different things that you keep switching between, and I'd like to just narrow it down a bit. So if we're talking about just reducing suffering because there's too much suffering in the world, then I can get on board with that. I mean, everybody's on board with reducing suffering. But if you're talking about that life itself, no matter what, is meaningless, or in the sense that
look,
it has
conflicting subjects, okay? They're just
I didn't say they were conflict. They're just different.
They're just places on the same fucking road, okay? You can either go all the way to the finish line, or
let's just go to the finish line.
Or you want to stop halfway and say, yes, let's just make the world half better? Sure, everybody agrees with that, exactly. What, I'm somehow my philosophy says less suffering would be a bad thing? Of course it doesn't say that. Of course it says, yes, let's go halfway down the track. The point is if you're going to philosophically take it to its conclusion, if you're going to be honest to the facts point to the fact that it's just pointless to do any of it in the end anyway. Just fuck it, it's a stupid game, don't play it.
Yeah, so you might as well not even mention suffering. Let's just talk about life.
There's no point in not mentioning suffering, but suffering's the whole initiative, the whole reason why you have to do something.
So let's just talk about this existence being basically meaningless. If everybody was a god, there's no suffering, people can just do whatever they want, you can still say that is completely meaningless, because big deal, so we just do whatever we want, we feel whatever we want.
Right. There's no
big
price. Again, I've established the premise. If there's no red numbers, I don't give a fuck. I only care about red numbers.
So can you come up with any existence at all that has value to you?
I just pointed out, of course I can't, because I've just pointed out that the only reason why we perceive value is because we have been deluded. Nature births us into a world where we are born into misery. We are basically deprived. A piece of us is taken away, and we are chasing it for the rest of our lives. We're chasing a satisfaction we will never catch. That's the DNA's insidious.
No, but let's assume you're a god.
In the game, it plays, okay? So I've already argued the premise. If you can tell me what the accomplishment is, fine. I don't see it. I'm saying the only thing I see is the red numbers, and all your chasing is made out of chasing undoing a red number, not creating a true positive. I've already pointed out there is no positive. The universe isn't built that way.
You haven't proven that that's the case. I don't see it as that's a zero-sum game.
Well, whatever. I don't know exactly how one is obliged to prove it. I'm not going to be able to get fucking God's signature on a statement. I'm not going to get the universe to admit it. I can't beat it with a rubber hose and force the universe to admit to you that it had no purpose, no accomplishment, and yes, it created negative first. And the negative is what created the whole motivation for the movement of sentience and intelligence. The whole game was built out of the creation of the want and the need. And it's an illusion of our psychology. There is no real want or need in the universe. It only exists inside our psychology. It's purely subjective, purely psychological. It has no real merit. There is no cheese. There's only the illusion of value. There is no real positive. There's only suffering and pointless chasing.
Why does it have to have some sort of cosmic value, some sort of cumulative? Why can't it just be for the individual?
It has to have a net. Because it doesn't matter about individuals. It matters about the collective. It matters what's happening to consciousness. So again, this...
But that's a value statement. That's your opinion.
Again, it's not a value statement. It's a goddamn premise of a logical argument. All right? Consciousness matters, okay? That's a premise. If you don't agree with it, then there's no further conversation between us. It's a fucking goddamn obvious goddamn fact.
Yeah.
There's no point in having a conversation based on inconsistent premises. If your premise is there's God exists, we're not going to be able to have much of a conversation. Well, if your premise is that consciousness, only individual consciousnesses matter and the collective consciousness doesn't matter, well then we have nothing to talk about. Because as I see it, my consciousness, the consciousness of a great ape, or the consciousness of my father, or the consciousness of my next door neighbor, all have equal merit as something that has a welfare that needs to be cared for. Their suffering is just as meaningful as my suffering, their pleasure is just as meaningful as my pleasure, and it doesn't matter what I subjectively feel about it, it's just a fact.
No, I agree with that. I do agree that their feelings and their suffering matters just as much as yours. What I don't agree with is that because they're experiencing suffering, or because you're experiencing that, therefore that justifies the killing of everybody, or both of you. It doesn't make... I don't see how that follows.
We don't have to kill anybody. We don't have to kill anybody. All we have to do is stop assholes from reproducing.
Why not just reduce suffering? I don't understand.
Again, yeah, like that's worked. That's worked for the last 10,000 years for the humankind.
But why do you think that's just...
We've done a spectacular job of that one.
Well, right, but I mean, why give up so quickly? I mean, who's to say?
Why give up on what? What? Well, yeah, right. We're running out of oil. We got 7 billion people on the planet. Our economy is, triple in debt. And there's absolutely nothing on looking on any kind of future. There's absolutely no reason to have much hope of any of those big giant problems being fixed. And so it has it looks like everything is pointing that it's more likely or not that there's going to be some catastrophic big war. Fuck off.
Thank you. Let me ask you this, Gary. Let's suppose the world is going to end in a day, okay? And would you end your life right now, or would you prefer to have, let's say, an orgasm or something in that day before the world ends?
Look,
I'm assuming that you want the orgasm.
Animal. I've made this point.
Well, everybody.
Before. It doesn't matter. It's asking me what I'm personally going to do, what I personally get off on. Is
no. What do you think? Everybody. The consensus. Everybody.
Again. Why would I even care to predict what they will psychologically want to do with their experience? That's like saying, like I said, how do you want to have sex? Or how do you masturbate? Or how do you want to eat your chocolate cake? Who the fuck cares? Alright? I am an animal. Everybody else. I'm an animal. Let me finish my fucking sentences, will you, you motherfucking cunt? Like everybody else, I'm an animal. I'm in the game. I'm an addict. So there's no fucking point in asking me how I, as an addict, am going to enjoy my heroin or my last bit of heroin. That's just stupid, okay? So, and the fact that I would even find it troublesome when my life is ending or my last moments, I'm not going to sit there and say, oh yeah, it's going to be kick-ass and fun. But the point is I understand why it's happening and why it will be, and I accept it in that sense.
Okay, so just a few minutes ago, you said that the collective consciousness matters. That's the most important thing. And then, so presumably that means the pleasure and the suffering.
Collectively, let's just be careful, all right? No, don't go right, because these false premises is what fucks the whole argument.
Okay, that.
All right,